Courtney is now starting to regulate herself. Courtney is the child that taught me that even children that may require, I'm just borrowing that word from you from something you said, that every instinct in us said this child requires a good swift boot to, didn't require it if we put other skills in place. Spanking is don't take no work. It's quick, ain't it? All the things that work just as well take work, and I'm sorry. But with that piece, understand the teachable moment. It's not during the hurricane. Teach them a new behavior. Last trick, spanking interrupts behavior beautifully, right? So does a hug. But we don't want to hug them when they're acting nasty. Now, every one of us would hug a baby that was acting nasty. Every one of us would hug a baby that had lost control of themselves. Every one of us would hug a baby in a tantrum. But about 3 years old, the cute wears off. And what I'm saying to you is sometimes even a teenager, when they're being mouthy and deserve it least, need it most. It's a thought.
So if you don't remember anything that I say and that I've said up to this point, I want you to remember two things. And one I'm going to steal from John. So the first one is Q-tip. Q-tip. Quit taking it personally. Q-tip. Quit taking it personally. Obviously, when they're your kid, it's a little difficult. You have a hard time not taking it personally because he's saying, I hate you. You're the worst mother ever. Correct? So it's a little difficult not to take it personally and not to want to kill them, and right? I get that. The second thing, time out is for you. Again, I think someone already said that. Time out is for you. If you are not taking care of yourself, you will not be able to take care of anyone. Not yourself, not your child, not your anybody. Because as we heard, what are two times where, as parents, we want to kill that child? Usually when I'm stressed or upset at my husband, because it's a lot easier to take it out on a kid than to take it out on your husband. My husband's 6 foot, so a little bit harder. When you're stressed, when you're frustrated, let me tell you, when my son swears at me, because, you know, his mother thinks it's okay, and his father thinks it's sort of okay. And I was like, oh, no, honey. It is not okay. No, no, no. I said, you may swear at your father. Fantastic. Not me. So when he swears at me, let me tell you, my blood pressure goes up, and those are the times where I understand how children are abused. Right? I understand that. So two things that I want you to take away from this. How to do it differently. One, tell your parents to take a time out. If you have nothing to give, you cannot take care of your child. If you are so stressed and frustrated and have such little support and you're worried about rent and you're worried about your job, who is the easiest target to take our frustration, our stress, and everything else that we come to mind, and our anger towards our husbands? So Q-tip and take care of yourself.
This discussion has really been great. And there are two things that I would say we should really begin to spend more time on that would certainly be an alternative to spanking. And the first concept is parental expectations. We need to talk with parents about what do they even expect for their children as they grow older. Here again, putting it in a framework. What do you expect them to do? Then once you have that, and I'm not sharing anything with you that I don't do every single day. What do you expect for your child to be about when they grow up? Because when you have that conversation, that's where the beliefs and the attitudes comes in to play. That's very real. As a trainer for Healthy Families, as part of Prevent Child Abuse America, on the Kemp stress checklist, there's childhood history. And there are two things we look at: the nurturing that a child receives and the discipline. And that generally correlates with whether you will discipline your child or not. So it's really important to help parents understand what are you expecting from this child? That's number one. And the second thing that's so important, and I think we need to spend a little more time on that, and that has to do with when you talk about what you expect for your child to do, then you have to spend time creating that environment, and I call it, yes, routines. Routines. So when you, from birth, developing that routine, that relates to compliance. When children know what the rules are, it has to do with attachment and bonding. Caregivers, and you notice I didn't say moms, because guess what? We talk about these topics as though dads don't even exist. So caregivers, and attachment, what is that routine? What is that responsiveness? You respond appropriately according to the routines. So when that infant wakes up, they don't have to start crying because they already know someone has anticipated that they want to eat, or they want to be changed, or they want to be rocked, or they want you to paint the room blue instead of white. So developing routines cuts down on physical punishment because everybody understands what the rules are. You don't get there overnight. But if we spent more time on those two topics, see, that's what really working with parents entails. The more time you spend on that, the less time you'd have to spend on physically spanking a child. And last but not least, once you're done with the expectations and the routines, let's not assume that parents should be raising children alone and in isolation. Okay? Let's stop beating up on parents. We're smart enough to know that if you're the only person trying to raise that child possibly is going to be spanked, beaten, whatever language you want to use, because guess what? Spanking is not about whether it is harmful in the long run. Spanking is about when you are stressed out, even when you know what the literature says, we don't follow it because this is an emotional topic. And when all of us are stressed, we fall back to the familiar, whether you believe in it or not. So because we know this, we should be trying to create avenues where parents can be supported in raising their children. So for all the home visitors and family, parent educators in the house, keep doing what you do, and that's supporting parents and trying to be the best parents they can be.